Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the language of business. Today we're diving into a filing from Axon Enterprise, the company known for tasers and body cameras. This report is a bit like a police officer's notebook full of details, but we're here to uncover the real story. You might think a report about a company making law enforcement equipment would be all serious business, but there are a few surprises in here, especially when we look at how much they are paying their executive. Before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below where we talk about some of these filings. This filing is a Form 8K, which companies use to announce major events to investors. In this case, it's about Axon's annual shareholder meeting that happened in May of 2025. Basically, the shareholders, who are the owners of the company, got together to vote on some important decisions. One of the key things covered in this report is about what the shareholders voted on, who got elected to the board of directors, and other important company matters. These votes can tell us what direction the company is heading. First off, let's talk about how many people actually voted. It looks like about 90% of the shares that were eligible to vote did. That's a pretty good turnout, which tells us that shareholders are pretty engaged with what's going on at Axon. The first thing they voted on was electing the board of directors, which is like picking the team captains for the company. These are the people who are going to be guiding Axon's strategy and making big decisions. The document lists all the people who were nominated and the results of the votes. It looks like everyone on the list got elected, which means the shareholders were generally happy with the people running the show. Each of the directors had millions of votes in favour, while against votes were in the thousands. The big takeaway here is that all nominees were overwhelmingly approved. Next up is something called a say-on-pay vote. This is where shareholders get to give their opinion on how much the top executives are getting paid. It's not binding, meaning the company doesn't have to change anything based on the vote, but it's a good way to see if the shareholders think the executives are being paid fairly. This is where things get interesting. While the proposal did pass, the numbers are a little more split than the director elections. It looks like about 41 million votes were in favour of the executive pay, but a whopping 20 million votes were against it. And about 175,000 shareholders decided to abstain, which is sort of like saying, I don't have an opinion. That's a pretty significant number of no votes, which might suggest that some shareholders think the executives are getting paid too much. When almost half of your shareholders are not in favour of a proposal, you should probably consider why. The last thing they voted on was choosing the company's accounting firm. This is important because the accounting firm is responsible for making sure Axon's financial statements are accurate. The shareholders voted to keep PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP Hand of Wolfenanfingel reporting. This vote was overwhelmingly in favour, with almost 70 million votes for and only a little over 100,000 against. So the shareholders seem happy with who's keeping track of the money. The report is signed by Isaiah Fields, Chief Legal Officer and Corporate Secretary, which means he's responsible for making sure everything in the report is accurate and follows the rules. Now let's step back and look at the big picture. The shareholder meeting seems to have gone smoothly, with all the directors getting elected and the accounting firm getting approved. However, the say-on-pay vote shows there might be some tension between the company and its shareholders about executive compensation. It's also worth remembering who Axon is. They make equipment that's used by law enforcement all over the world. So their business is closely tied to things like crime rates, government spending, and public opinion about policing. Any of those factors could have a big impact on their bottom line, and considering what is known about the company, the negative feedback regarding the say-on-pay vote could imply that Axon shareholders may have some negative sentiment towards the board. This could be because Axon is an increasingly politicized company, and or the shareholders feel they should be getting more from the company. It's important to consider that the shareholder vote does not directly affect the actions taken by the company. The board could simply ignore their concerns and continue paying the executives handsomely. Alright, that's our breakdown of Axon's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.